Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. So this is Steve McGoldrick with Cyberbit. I am based out of Dallas, Texas. I support the partners across the United States as well as Latin America, and including the Caribbean. So cover and support Annexus, cover and support Extralink as well. I also cover the South Central United States in terms of external sales. So what I'm going to do is take you through a little bit of the situation that exists in the training realm and some of the problems that people are facing, and then some of the differentiators on how we are helping clients and our partners to solve these problems that are being faced by the security operations teams across the world, really. And it's only gotten worse now that COVID has hit in terms of how people are hitting, and the fact that a lot of security operations teams have gone virtual and are having to deal with, instead of being able to walk over and touch somebody on the shoulder and work through a problem, having to do it all remote. And so we are assisting in a lot of these elements. So as a start, I like to start with where did the idea of Cyberbit come from? And so we are an Israeli company based out of Israel. We also have an incorporation here in the United States. But the idea came out of the Israeli Defense Force. So they were working with the originator parent company, Elbit Systems. So think Lockheed Martin in the United States, a big defense contractor. So Elbit Systems supplies the Israeli Defense Force with a lot of their tank simulators, their pilot simulators. So they go in and they have that Hyperrealistic simulator that can show them how to deal with, engine fires and things like that without having to live through it. So it's what they're allowing them to do is see these situations and learn and get the muscle memory that is required to deal with that. And what they wanted, and the idea, the inception of what we're doing is we know that you're providing us with, or this is the way the Israeli Defense Force came to Elbit. They said, you're supplying us with the tank simulators, the flight simulators. We'd like to do the same thing for our SOC analysts. They are being hit in a lot of different ways, and we want a system that can do this in a hyper-realistic fashion, really kind of mirror what we're doing in the network and what they're facing in a day-to-day and what they're looking at and utilizing in day-to-day, but being able to do it in an air-gapped environment with real-world attacks. And so that was the inception, and that became Cyberbit eventually. So we've actually trained basically a generation of the IDF in their cybersecurity response teams. So as I mentioned, one of the main focuses is to make sure that the analysts are seeing these situations, these attacks, for the first time in a controlled environment, an air-gapped environment, and not seeing it for the first time. The last thing you want is for them to see a Dragonfly attack for the first time in the network environment, in the production network. So it gives them that experience, it builds that muscle memory, and the majority have not seen it yet and will see these attacks for the first time on network environments. So what are the challenges that are being faced by clients today? Now, there's a lot of tools that are utilized in security operations centers, and the need to train on that tool is imperative. So whether you're talking Palo Alto firewalls, Checkpoint firewalls, Splunk SIM, ArcSight SIM, you go down the line. It's very important to have those tools, to be proficient in those tools. But what that lacks is you're doing it in a silo in terms of how you're learning those tools. How do you gain that operational context? There's a lacking there in how all these tools overlap. How do you utilize them together to make sure there's no seams in your environment? Second, there's a lot of training that's done out there, but it's more low fidelity. It's PowerPoints, it's tabletop exercises, or even mini labs where you're really only dealing with a singular virtualized instance. And so you kind of know exactly where the problem is going to be, unlike in a real world scenario where you are looking at a corporate sized network. And how do you track down and figure out from the breadcrumbs that are left what is going on? So you need that whole operational context of a full network and all the noise that you would see normally to really be able to give that experience and that immersion of the experience. So obviously logistics has become an issue, being able to go to SANS Institute or go to an on-prem range. So it's important to have that option to be able to log in from wherever you are, to have your team be able to log in from multiple locations and still work as a team to simulate that scenario that you'd have in that security operations center. Finally, as you look at the way that people do trainings today, it's usually a subset and things like that. Well, an advanced threat is not a singular vector. They're coming at you from multi-vectors. They are changing directions. They are distracting you over here with an attack over here while they're actually moving laterally and hitting you over to the right. So you need that full kill chain perspective to be able to learn from the experience and, again, understand that it might be a misdirection and things like that. And finally, I've already mentioned the teamwork, but that is a big thing that is lacking in a lot of the trainings, and it's something that with COVID that people are really grappling with. So Cyberbit, it is the only hyper-realistic SOC simulator. Again, think that flight simulator for SOC analysts. So I put this in here, this slide. It really emphasizes the fact that we are a global organization. We are the worldwide leader in cyber ranges, and we have many marquee accounts, marquee governmental accounts. And, you look at, PwC, Columbia State, here in my backyard, one of the top 3 airports, Dallas, DFW Dallas Airport, where American Airlines is hubbed. They utilize our cyber range to train their SOC analysts. One of the top 5 U.S. banks, otherwise known as Citibank, utilize our range in prepping, their analysts. So there's a lot of, across the globe, we have a lot of very large accounts using our solution. We actually have it in the educational side as well. Purdue, one of the main cybersecurity educational facilities, purchased our on-prem range, and they utilize it to prepare their students and to be able to see them and immerse them in attacks, not just show them the PowerPoints in lectures. So they're one of the leading ones in that regard. So what is hyper-realistic simulation? I want to set this groundwork as I move into the next slide that'll give it a little more detail on this, but really it's the idea of being able to train when you like, from wherever you like, doing it on a full network, not just a subset, as I mentioned before, utilizing not just tools that are similar to, but actually in many cases the exact tools that you'd be utilizing in your SOC, in your production environment. And finally, not doing a piece of an attack or a made up attack. We want to be looking at what exactly is the full kill chain of these attacks, whether it's a ransomware attack or whether it's there's a lot of different attacks. We have over 50 scenarios, but it's very important to have that real experience in terms of the tools you're utilizing, but also the attacks you are facing, and to have the two of them and figure out how to move forward. So this is really the crux of it, in setting the stage for Mark, who will come shortly after me here to take you through more of a demonstration of our solution and give you a good feel for how we do this. I want to set the stage. So you see this slide. Inside the yellow box is a full virtualized network. It's everything from Windows 7 machines, Windows 10 machines, to web servers, switches, routers, Active Directory servers. So it's basically a corporate network that is miniaturized down. Everything is actionable. It can be taken down. It's got an IP address. So it's a full virtualized instance for each of them. You're not just looking at a subset of an environment. You have an actual environment that you'd be looking at, along with the simulated internet and our traffic generator. Obviously, there's a lot of noise that goes on that SOC analysts need to filter through, and you need that traffic that is coming through. It's very actual network traffic, all the different protocols and things like that you would see that would cause distractions and things like that. So one of the magic sauces of Cyberbit is the fact that we utilize industry-leading tools in our scenario. So it's a turnkey solution. We pay these manufacturers like Palo Alto and Checkpoint and Splunk and ArcSight and QRadar at IBM. We utilize those tools in our solution. And so if you're a Palo Alto shop or a Checkpoint shop, you're going in and you're training on similar tools of what you'd be utilizing in your day-to-day life. And so this really helps to increase retention of what you're seeing. It may not be exactly what you are working with, but it's very close and it's a reasonable facsimile. So again, what we're trying to do is not only increase the impact and the experience, but increase the retention. If you go and you're doing PowerPoints, how much that actually sinks in? So we've taken a look at it from learning statistics and everything, what really helps to retain that and make an impact and change how you're doing things in your day-to-day. And we feel that immersive aspect and utilizing the tools that you use every day is very important. Finally, the attack. We have red teams. So if you want to work on pen testers, things like that, there's the blue team, and we can do them together. So we have the automated attack generator. So when you go into our system, it can be set up where it's just an automated system. So that acts as the red team and runs through an attack. So what we're looking to do is obviously mirror what you're doing in your day-to-day job. So a lot of this I've already gone over, but one thing I do want to bring up is if you do have elements of industrial control and things like that, we have scenarios that cover that as well. So when you look at it, we're looking to, and we have the ability to upskill tier 1 analysts, tier 2 analysts, SOC manager helping with that communication in the team. So when you go into the scenarios, you can do it as an individual where you're looking to go through a specific curriculum, or you can go through it as a team. If you have certain scenarios, you're really worried about ransomware, there's a couple of those in there where you can go in as a team and understand where certain people are strong over here, certain people are strong over here. Where do we need to fill in those gaps in the skills in our team? As opposed to exclusively looking at it from an individual standpoint, but we have both to be able to do that. And we also have labs that allows you to take a step back and do some of that fundamental curriculum to help you solidify certain skills as you understand them, but then to move into other. Mark will go into a little more of that. But really the important thing, I think, is the use cases that we do. I mentioned the team and the individual, but as you're onboarding new members, to set up a curriculum for them to run through so that they really start understanding this and they can see this for the first time. A lot of our financial institutions and others are utilizing it almost exclusively for candidate assessments. Since they can't have people come in, there's a lot of turnover in SOCs. They utilize it they put it in that interview process to run through a scenario. And finally, obviously, testing your playbooks and such like that. So I'm going to set the stage quickly, and then I'll hand it over to Mark here to give you a little bit of a demo on our range and our system. We go to market in two different flavors. The primary one, in terms of, unless you're a really large Citibank or governmental entity that has concerns as far as cloud offerings, things like that. But we offer a cloud range. It is a shared resource, so the American Airlines of the world will be using it alongside of you, and you're allowed to choose different networks and things like that in this, but it gives you that opportunity as an individual or team to just log in, go into our marketplace, and boom, you're into the scenario and good to go. We have another if the use case is such that you need exact duplication of your environment. We have that in our cyber range, the dedicated instance, or on-prem as we call it. And so either one, and the cloud range is on a named user type basis, wherein a person would get a login and they would have unlimited access to all of our scenarios. So I'm going to hand this over to Mark and allow him to take you through our cloud range.